Biz School is brought to you by Neon Canvas. Neon Canvas is a digital marketing boutique located in Memphis, Tennessee. To learn more about Neon Canvas, visit neoncanvas.com.
Welcome, here it goes. This is the 14th episode of Biz School with Alex Rasmussen, where I am going to be teaching you all things business. And today we are joined by Ben Buffington, originally from Bay Springs, Mississippi. Ben Buffington attended Mississippi College. Upon earning his bachelor's degree in management, he moved and pursued a career in finance. He served in a number of roles, including the Associate VP of Commercial Lending for Community Bank, Vice President of Premier Banking for Bancorp South, Private Wealth Manager for SunTrust Bank, and the Executive Vice President of Business Development for Executive Financial Services. After almost a decade in banking, Buffington began his entrepreneurial journey by co-founding an M&A consulting firm, which he successfully built and sold. For the past 10 years, Ben has served as the owner, president, and CEO of High Speed Industrial Service, a company founded in 1946 that specializes in repair and sales of electromechanical equipment, electric motors, pumps, gearboxes, fans, and blowers. Service, repair, and construction of overhead hoist and crane systems, technology enhanced predictive and preventative maintenance services, and round the clock availability. They have locations in Millington, Tennessee, and Little Rock, Arkansas. High Speed provides services to clients throughout the Southeast. Over the last several years, the company's doubled and its future is bright, due in a large part to Ben's leadership and the dedicated team of experienced professionals who serve High Speed's valued customers daily. So I want to bring in Ben. That's a really, really impressive resume, a really impressive background. I want to find out just more about how Ben got to that point. The M&A consulting firm is extremely exciting to me because you just get to, anybody that's worked in M&A before gets to really understand a breadth of different businesses. And clearly there was something he saw in this business to exit that and decide to buy into this one. So Ben, what a great story. I appreciate you joining me today on Biz School. I think we got a lot to learn from you.
Yeah, thanks. Glad to be here. Honored to be considered, and yeah, glad to give you a little bit of background. So my family owned very small businesses in Mississippi, and so I guess I caught the entrepreneurial gene, or caught the entrepreneurial spirit, or whatever you might want to say. Maybe I was just not a great employee, and so I ended up jumping out of big public companies and partnered with a local guy here in town, and we built a company together that was really going around the region and looking at businesses that were really about 500 million and under, sort of the lower end of the middle market, helping those companies with exit strategies. And we primarily use the ESOP, the Employee Stock Ownership Plan, as a tool to be able to do that. But you're right. It exposed me to lots and lots of business owners across the region. And, with a consulting firm, which is what we did, really, and no offense to consultants out there, but really it's all about the next deal. There are some consulting relationships that last for many years, but, in M&A, which is really more primarily what we were doing, helping with exits or mergers or, combinations or that sort of thing, really you're only as good as your next deal. And so, in looking at that model and looking at what I really wanted to do, which was to be able to scale something, I just felt like that it was not going to be possible to do that, in a consulting business. And so, we ended our partnership. My partner bought me out. I sold my equity to him, and I embarked upon looking at lots of different things. I was really agnostic on what it was. I knew there were certain things I didn't want to do, but I had very little capital and very little experience, so I was sort of limited on people who might take a chance on me in selling their companies to me. But I got very lucky and ended up being able to purchase High Speed, a company that had been around for a very long time, had a very rich history, and 10 years later, May the 3rd, here we are. So that's a little bit of my story.
That's awesome. Yeah, I appreciated the the insight in the M&A world. I know the old joke in that world is, if you ask any M&A advisor what their favorite deal is, they'll always tell you the next one. So that's
Yeah.
yeah, that's true words spoken there. So tell us about High Speed, what your team does to keep clients' business up and running.
Yeah, that's a great phrase. I'm actually working with a local firm, and that's the phrase that we've recently chosen to up and running is what we say. And so that's really the crux of what we do. We are a 24/7 service organization, and what keeps us growing is answering the phone and doing what we say we're going to do. Basic business principles. Now, it's probably an oversimplification. We've got to be able to fix it when we get out there. We got to be able to communicate well, and we've got to be in front of our customers regularly, not only checking on existing business but asking for new business. But at the heart of it, we're a technical industrial services company. We have to be able to fix stuff that is broken, that is putting customers down. That's, I don't know, that's 80% of our business. So yes, we sell new equipment. We sell and install new crane systems, and that's important to us. But we are a service company, and so if we're not answering the phone within the first 2 or 3 rings, they're calling somebody else because they can't afford downtime. So up and running is what we do. So well said there to start out.
Yeah, and that you're using technology to be predictive about these things, right? And tie your preventative maintenance into this. Tell me some about that. How you're leveraging technology to keep businesses up and running.
Right. Yeah. Good. Sorry to talk over you there. Even before I bought the company, this business was very progressive from a predictive maintenance technology standpoint. They actually trademarked a process known as Qualitest, which I think we let the trademark lapse because technology really just sort of outpaced the trademark. But in the early 80s, the firm was on the cutting edge of using remote monitoring technology that was sort of along with the birth of the internet, so that customers could know before their equipment went down when it was going down. So it's sort of the equivalent of driving an old car. I've got a 1964 Cadillac that we sort of drive around on the weekends, which is a lot of fun. And an indication that something's going wrong is, the temperature's going up, the oil pressure is going down. And those are indicators that you may have a problem. It may not, maybe a faulty sensor or something, but, simplistically, we started doing that a long time ago. And, fast forward today, many people would say that the future of industrial equipment is sensor technology and artificial intelligence. And, we play very heavily in that world. There are large OEMs, international companies that, they believe that the future of industrial equipment is in data, not in the equipment itself. But you still got to have equipment to run plants and run facilities and run buildings and that kind of thing. Technology has enabled firms like ours to know before something is going wrong. And so that's important, especially for high, critical use equipment that, let's say you've got a chiller that's in a hospital and you just can't afford to be down not 1 minute, or a pump or something like that. This technology enables you really, with the use of a smartphone or through the network, to know very quickly if there's something going wrong. And, so in the last 10 years, we have invested heavily in technology to be able to try to stay with the curve here. It's very hard to do. There's stuff coming out all the time. The price of sensors has come way down, so that even now for, $300 or less, you can put a sensor on just about any piece of rotating electromechanical equipment. walk out with an iPhone and understand what's happening. So it's
Wow,
come a long
that's
ways
cool.
in a very short amount of time with recent development. So
That's awesome. Yeah, when you've got sensors talking to iPhones, I mean, you're operating at a whole next level, and that's what's so cool to me about buying into a business that's existed for a long time and using technology to enhance those services. Because, like you said, you are a service-based business, and I read that your business philosophy is to network your tail off, work your tail off, keep your commitments. So, tell us about your background behind that and how that's helped you to be successful.
yeah, um, I don't know where you get work ethic. I think that's probably 90% of it is showing up. But we grew up working. My dad was in town this past weekend, and we were talking about what we would do on Saturdays. And our business was open from 7 to noon on Saturdays, and I started working with him whenever I was, I don't know, maybe 12, washing cars out back. And so, there was never really a discussion about whether we were going to stop working at the shop at noon and then go work in the yard or go work on the farm or go work on whatever. It was just sort of understood. And so I don't know that I never knew uh, a difference between having a strong work ethic and not. I think as you get a little bit older, you get into college. For those students who may be listening to this, sometimes it's hard to transfer that work ethic that maybe you learned as a family into college. There's so many opportunities to be distracted and then you get into your career and similarly. But I think that the discipline of work has always been important to me. I was an athlete in high school, tried to play a little bit of college, was not successful in that. But the disciplines and the fundamentals of business start with work ethic, and they go on from there for processes and checklists, and you get that down, and you got the majority of it. If you've got a decent brain, I think the rest of it takes care of itself. I don't want to you got to have people skills and all those things, but yeah, we work ethic's pretty important around here. I don't want to steal the Grizzlies, sort of grindhouse theme, but if I look at our management team and if I look at the people here at this company, both the ones before me and the ones now, the common theme has been we just grind it out. We just do, and so that's pretty important to me. And working around people who have a similar philosophy is very important to me.
If you figure out how to bottle work ethic, please let me know, Ben, first. I'll be the first to invest in that. I mean, I tell you, it's one of the things that I feel like as generations come up and as things have changed and parenting has changed and the way we raise our children has changed, that work ethic has been one of the byproducts of that's kind of disappeared a little bit, right? The younger generation doesn't seem to have a lot of that same work ethic. And so I'm curious as to what you look for, the qualities you're look for when you're hiring team members to join High Speed. How do you find people that are going to have what you need to turn it on?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, I don't know. We had this debate. You and I are probably Generation X. We had this debate, and generations before us had this debate about us. And so I don't know, what if there has been a sea change or if it's just that information is so much more available. I think young people now work differently. Think things are different. So I don't know. Statistically, sort of what maybe have eroded in terms of work ethic. But I think it's always been hard to find people who value hard work, even many years ago. So I don't know. That one's an interesting philosophical question. But what do we do? Uh, if I see someone who has put themselves through school, who had a job during high school, um, that's a pretty good indication that they had to work. And, I think that's probably preferable. Someone that has to work hard to be successful is just a little different motivation than someone who may not have to do it. So there are certainly people who don't have to work hard, but they do it. So I think, for me, is I'm going through someone's background. I want to see a history that they had to and they did. And that's usually pretty evident by, tell me about what you did in high school. Did you have a job during college? And so it's not fair to those people who maybe, their school was paid for, or, they come from a successful family background and they just didn't have to, but they do. I've got plenty of friends who worked very hard. They came from very wealthy families. But if I'm looking, I want to see a timeline and a history of consistent desire. Athletes generally, college athletes have to meet a schedule and have to stay disciplined whether they want to or not. And if they are successful doing it, generally they wash out if they're not. So those are a few things that we sort of look for, and sort of tell me your story of work. And usually you'll see the ones who light up and are articulate about how passionate they feel about how hard they've worked and their work ethic.
Yeah, one of the greatest sales recruiters and mentors that I ever worked for used to give everybody a sheet that would just had attributes listed, and he asked you to rank them one through 10, and it had things like empathy and people person and things like that. But the one that he always looked for is if you had drive in your top three, it was a really good indicator in your mind. If you thought drive was one of the most important qualities that you could have in a person, that person was going to be extremely successful. He said that almost always the top 1% had drive either in the 1, 2, or 3 position.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm a big believer in that. That's one of the big things that I try and preach to our team is, look, I don't expect you to have all the skills in the world, to have all the knowledge in the world. If you just have the drive to be great, we're going to work out fine here.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. That's another great word to describe, an attribute that we're all looking for, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I have this incredible drive to make our clients happy. That's what I feel like we are also in a service, even though we provide services, we build websites, we do search engine optimization, we do design, we do all these great things for our clients that make them money. The reason that we're able to keep 95% of our clients and 95% of our team every year over year, is because we care so much about them. And I care as much or more about a client's business than they do. At least that's the kind of the mentality I take on. How do you develop really strong relationships with your customers to where they understand how important they are to you?
Yeah, good question. I'm not as much at the front lines as maybe I used to be. So, when we talk to our people who are in front of our customers and developing relationships, I think number one, it starts with doing what you say you're going to do. That is so simple. And if you tell some, I was on the phone before this call with, a vendor of ours who hadn't, they told me they were going to call me on Friday and they didn't. And so, those little things erode confidence, erode trust, and erode relationships when you just don't do what you say you're going to do. If you do what you say you're going to do, or if something changes, you communicate it. That's very important. I think that's probably one of the bigger ones. Showing up and doing what you say you're going to do. I think another one is being proactive around interesting things that the client or customer may not know about in the market. So, I always tried, whenever I was covering a territory, I always tried to bring something new periodically for them to think about. Hey, this is not a sales call, but here's something I learned about recently that I thought you might be interested in. And, I think that comes from the philosophy that Charlie Jones said. My people probably get tired of me saying this, but there's nothing more important from year to year than the books you read and the people you meet. So, for us, one of our, sort of cultural norms here is we want to be learners and readers. And so I think if you're naturally passing along to those around you, whether it's customers or otherwise, things you've learned, things that may be able to help them. And it may be something in their facility or something that you've learned that may help them with parenting, or may help them with something else that they're working on, woodworking, or, whatever. I think the conveyance of knowledge without any strings attached, I think is a pretty good way to build a relationship. So, everyone does it a little bit differently. I think, client reviews every quarter are important to just say, look, I know you don't have time to meet with me, but here's some bullet points, some highlights of what happened this past quarter. Thank you for your business. And I think, when you're going down the road, don't text or call while driving, but a call, even if you get voicemail, hey, I just wanted you to know I was thinking about you. You know where to get me if you need. All those little things I think are really important to building relationships and keeping them.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we talk all the time about two things. One of them is, with our clients is, hey, if you want to be the best in your section, you have got to be authoritative, right? And one of the ways that you can be authoritative is by constantly learning and taking that knowledge that you have and giving insights to the people in your space, whether that's through a podcast, whether it's through a blog, or whether it's just through a phone call, like you said, and hey, I picked up something new. I think it would be, great in your Little Rock office, right? Those type of things go so far in establishing you as an authority that when people go to buy, they feel like they know you already because you're so authoritative, because you've been giving them this information. They feel comfortable and ready to buy from you, which is far easier to close deals than if you don't have that constant stream of conscience going to people with your authoritative content. And there's a million ways to put that out there, especially now with the way that the web works. It's very easy, whether it's, like I said, a podcast or even just a blog post or a simple social media story that gives a little bit of authority. The other thing I think people overthink is that, oh, well, I don't know how to be social. I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to do that. Well, just show people what you do when you're out in the field, when you're in a team meeting, document these things and let people understand that you are the expert in this area, that you are
Yeah.
the one that's got the knowledge that they need to be successful.
Yeah, no, and to that point, we adopted a system a year and a half or so ago called the Entrepreneurial Operating System (EOS), and there are lots of these out there, but it's a business framework to just help you stay organized and stay on top of things, and so every quarter, each of our managers and salespeople and planners have goals which we call rocks, and they have scorecard items. And so, last year during the pandemic, and shame on us for not having done this better before, but each person had a scorecard item that was to post, once a week on social media about something that they were doing or working on. And you're right, you have to establish authority that you do know what you're doing, that you're interested in talking about it. And it's one facet, it's not the panacea, but it's one thing that's important. And we were not doing a great job with that. So yeah, I completely agree. And we've started doing, quite a number of webinars. And we say before we start, we're not here to sell you on anything. We're not going to pitch anything. This is about learning about something that we think is interesting. And those have been, it's a combination of all of those things that we've both talked about here. But yeah, very important.
Yeah, just last week on Thursday and Friday, we've got a lot of orthodontists. We've got about 160 orthodontists throughout the country that we work with, and we work in a lot of other verticals, but that's one that we have a lot of authority in. My business partner is an orthodontist, and we did a 2-day event where we brought the top minds in orthodontics here into Memphis. We produced it live over the internet, and there's no real monetary gain from that. Obviously, we like people to know who we are, and there's no hard sales involved in that. We'll offer them a free audit and kind of let them know what's going on. But the whole goal of that is just to be the one who's at the forefront of giving you knowledge and information that's going to help your business grow. And in turn, the goodwill that you build with that ultimately is worth far more money than the value of a sale or two if you're just out there beating the streets.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about your, yeah, go ahead.
And content is forever.
Lasts forever. That's right. Yeah. And then we've got this incredible team of videographers and editors who can go and pull that content and find all those little nuggets. And now we've got marketing pieces for the next 6 months to a year that we can be using without having to think, oh, what are we going to talk about this month?
Right.
Hopefully we've got so much to talk about that we can't get it all out there. Talk to me a little bit about your team, your sales team. How big is your team? How have you grown it? How have you scaled it? What are the type of people you're looking for to grow your company?
Yeah. So our management team is, I think there's seven of us now. I'm trying to do that easy math in my head.
Yeah.
So we're a pretty small team, when compared to, much different kind of larger companies. But we're a fairly new team. Over the last few years, we are not shy about talking when someone is not a good fit, and and so we are a pretty young team. I think that it's very important to be able to work around performers who share the same culture and values and the things that we've talked about. And so, sometimes you bring people on and what they thought they wanted or who they thought they were didn't end up happening. And so we have a pretty new team. I think that what is important to team building is, number one, is good communication, a care for your fellow peer. I say all the time, if you don't know who you're working with, kids, how many in their names, if you don't know the person's wife or husband and their names, if you don't know something about their personal life, then you're probably not really establishing a very good team. We work together so much, and even virtually now, we take a minute in every meeting, all of our weekly meetings, to start with what is one positive piece of personal news from the last week, and what's one positive piece of business news from the last week. I think it's important to set the tone with positivity, because there are so many challenging and potentially negative things that happen, in business from a week to week standpoint. So, for us, with a new team, doing that regularly is important. It's made it challenging a little bit with the pandemic that we've experienced. So a lot of our meetings have been virtual. We really like to go to dinner as a management team at least once a month. Last month we used an exercise, sort of a get to know you, that was interesting. We let each person pick a topic. Some of them were very deep and serious. Some of them weren't, but we all learned something about each other that we didn't know. And so, when you're in the trenches together, and I thought about this not too long ago, we've had so many issues over the past several months with people getting along in our country. And, we thought about the folks coming out of World War II and kind of in the foxhole together. It really ultimately didn't matter how tall, short, what color you were, where you were from. They were each there to try to survive. And so, I think if we could take that philosophy as a management team in supporting in one another, realizing we're here for the common goal, caring about each other as people, and trying to support one another for success, I think that's a pretty good formula. And it's my job to facilitate those things. But if you don't hire people who naturally are pretty close to being there already, coaching that up significantly is a challenge. So we're trying to hire people that are the full person. Whenever I put together a hiring document, I want you to tell me about your fitness regimen. I want to know what your hobbies are, and I want to know how good you are at your job. I want to know about how your family life is, if you're healthy. I want to know a little bit about faith. We're hiring the full person here, and sometimes we get it right, sometimes we don't. Sometimes we get it right and it doesn't end up being the right fit for whatever reason. And we try to do a good job of as Jack Welch said, love them on the way in and love them on the way out. But that's a little bit of philosophy around around recruiting and around team building and those kinds of things. One of the mistakes I made early on is to not tie the business around a common cultural theme. And so several years ago, we brought someone in to help us with that. And I think, a leader that does not regularly reiterate why we're here is missing a good opportunity to tie the team together. Because it's easy to get lost in why am I really here? Well, I'm here for a paycheck. Yeah. I'm here to provide for my family. Yes. Um, but why am I really here? And I think companies that have better retention have something in addition to a paycheck or a job or a
Yeah.
career that ties the group together. And for us, our culture is customer people excellence, and we talk about why each one of those things are important. So as a leader, I have not done as good of a job, I don't think, that I could have around regular tying together of why we're here. And I'm working on it. So I'm a work in progress.
As we all are. That's very profound. One of the things I'll talk about all the time to our team is, I like to speak things into existence. I don't like to kind of hide things under the covers. I want my team to know the reason people change jobs is not for money. It's not for advancement. It's because they don't feel valued. And it's really important for my team to understand how much I value them, how much I love them, and how much I want them to value what they do back, right? It's not just that you're a designer or a copywriter or an SEO guy. It's that you believe in the work that you're doing. You believe that it's bettering the lives of you and the people around you, and that you feel a lot of value in that role. You understand how you fit into the team mentality, how you fit, how your piece of the puzzle works, and that you feel that you truly understand that you are a valued person and a valued piece of this entity. And I think that's one of the most important things we can do. One of the things you said that stuck out, and you keep saying so many great things that I want to ask follow-ups, but one of the things I really wanted to get in there was your ability to really truly know, husbands names, wives, kids, big events in your customers lives. That's like this the John Maxwell school of thought. How do you keep up with all that? Is that a CRM? Is that in your mind? How do you guys shuffle all that with as you grow and have all these different moving pieces and parts?
Yeah, we're still small enough, and I have the burden and the gift of a good memory. So it's a gift whenever I need to call on it. It's a burden whenever I'm remembering things that maybe weren't getting done and are annoying to others that I'm remembering it. But um, I keep on my desk at all times a list of whose birthdays and anniversaries are coming up. And, I look at it every day that I'm in the office, and I don't miss many times to, call or email or text somebody when it's their birthday or their anniversary. I think that's one thing. I think, the other way is just, you spend time with people, and, you learn things about them. And then, a good leader will, if they don't have a great memory, they will have a way, a mnemonic device or a CRM or something like that to remember. I just have the gift of a good memory. So that is not probably scalable as we grow. But I try to remember one thing about someone that whenever I see them the next time, that I can call out. And so, for me, it's just a blessing of a good memory at this point. So I may not remember what my wife's favorite color is or whatever when it's time for our anniversary, but I tend to remember things about our people. And I'm sure there's somebody out there that will say, well, I told him one time that whatever, and he doesn't remember. But I try to at least remember, something about each of our people. So um,
Well, if your wife showed up on that income statement, you'd know real quick what her favorite color was, right?
that's right. And I'm not going to say any more about that topic.
Smart man, smart man. Well, this has been great. I try to keep these kind of to a dry, where somebody can listen to it on their drive to work or their drive
Yeah.
home. So I don't want to go too long today, but this was incredible, Ben. I feel like I have a ton to learn from you. I've already learned a lot from you. What I really have taken from this is your authenticity, and I feel like that's something that I try to be in my life and in my relationships, is just really authentic with people, whether it's good or bad. They know the true me, and they know exactly where I stand on things. And I get that, it sounds like you've got a lot of that in you too. And it's one of the things I think makes for a great business owner. So kudos to you. Kudos to the growth of your company, and tell us what's going on in the future. Where do you see yourself in 3 to 5 years? Are you talking to your old M&A buddy to get out, or is it, are you doing this till you ride out in your 65 Cadillac?
Yeah. Well, let me say this first. I appreciate the compliment. I fail greatly every day, uh, every day, and I try my very hardest to be authentic. But like other leaders, you walk in and something's on your mind, or in this past year, and it's on your face, and so for those other leaders who are listening to it, this is a 35-40 minute section, and I can be very uh, definitive or purposeful about being, but you look, all of us leaders and managers, we struggle. You have to just, I work at it very hard. But I just, those who are listening who may be younger leaders too, I fail every single day in doing what I want to do, but I get up and try harder the next day. So where are we going? If someone would have talked to me 10 years ago and said, how many acquisitions will you have done? Whatever other markets would you be in by now? I would have said, we'd have made 4 or 5 acquisitions, and we'd have been in additional markets by now. And, so embarrassingly, and I tell my board this, I'm embarrassed that we haven't done, more than we have. Yeah, we've doubled, and that's great. And I'm proud of that. But David Sokol, in his book, a guy that worked for Warren Buffett, he wrote a book, and it was titled Pleased But Not Satisfied. So, I'm pleased with where we've been, but I'm not satisfied. For us, it's really been more about our ability to grow and build a team. And again, I mentioned we're a pretty new team. I think I probably held on to some things, some processes, and maybe some people for a little too long, when I should have said, look, it's time for you to go do something else. You've been here 20 years. Go find another adventure. And I think I held the company back by doing that. But in terms of the next 3 to 5 years, there are markets that are contiguous to us that we want to be in. I believe we have hired the people that are on board now who are going to be capable of running those markets. And, we look at 2 or 3 deals every year. Haven't found one yet that we really loved for various reasons. But, we have to be careful at our size. Buying a company in Texas that has no geographical combination to us now, and with the thin bench that we have in terms of leadership, that deal goes wrong, and it risks the company. And so, at our size, we just have to be careful. But if we do this again in 3 years, and I haven't added a market or two, and we haven't added another location or two, then shame on me, shame on us as a leadership team for not growing together well. So the same thing was happening 10 years ago. Baby boomers continue to retire. Businesses continue to have a lack of interested entrepreneurs who want to take those over. And so I believe the opportunity for us is significant to add additional businesses both in this market and others to our company. So we're excited. Our theme this year is get on the bus. So this is our little bus for the year. So it's get on the bus towards success, as the old Jim Collins theme. We're headed somewhere. If you want to be a part of it, get on the bus, and we believe that. So
good to great, baby. I love it. Well, I always love to end the show with something fun. So here's what I do. I call it 3 things. I'm going to give you 3 things. And here's what I want you to do. I want you to keep one for yourself. I want you to give one away, and I want you to discard the other one. So 3 things, keep one, give one away, discard. Here are your 3 things. And I need to get to know you a little better, for I knew what the 3 things are going to be, but I think I got them. So your 3 things are going to be $10 million, a garage full. I'm talking about a big garage, like 20, 30 cars full of classic cars, or 10,000 acres of farmland. What are you doing? You get to keep one. You got to discard one. You got to give one away.
wow, that's hard. Who's going to say give away the money? But life is more about experience, and we've been blessed financially, and so if I'm talking about what to keep, I'm probably going to keep the land.
Okay,
I grew up in a small area and love to be out in the country and enjoy the outdoors. I think that's important to balance. Maybe discard the garage full of cars. I think that was the second one. You know, I'm long. I don't think my wife would let me have another one to begin with. So, you know, I think give away the money to, you know, to something worthwhile and enjoy the land.
I love it. So you're keeping the land, you're discarding the cars, which I'll happily take off your hands, and you're giving away the $10 million. Ben, I love it. In closing, tell people where they can find more about you. They can maybe get a hold of you. Can they follow you on social? Tell people how to find you, Ben.
Yeah, we're gohighspeed.com, gohispeed.com. And there you will also find our Twitter handle, our Facebook handle, and LinkedIn. I believe my LinkedIn page is just Ben Buffington. So we're pretty easy to find, and we're trying to get better at that too. So that's where you can find us. And always, you know, I get calls almost every week about, you know, a young entrepreneur who's, you know, wants a few minutes to sort of spread some ideas around. And you know, there were a lot of people who helped me whenever I was trying to figure it out. And so, you know, I'm always glad to try to be helpful when I can.
That's awesome. Ben, this has been one of my favorite episodes, a real true surprise. I really appreciate your time. You don't want to miss the next episode, so please subscribe wherever you get your podcast. It's all the places. Follow me on social media at the Alex Raz. Punch that 5 stars. Help me grow this thing. That's all for today's show. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for joining me. It means a lot, and the rest is history.